Thanks for staying with us once again. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has declared himself as the winner of the crisis rocking the state, saying that those behind the crisis wanted him out of office, and since he is still in charge, he is the winner. The governor has been having a running battle with the camp of his predecessor and current Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Hanson Wike, which led to the factionalization of the State House of Assembly, with members loyal to Wike, indeed doing one thing, actually filing impeachment notice against the governor.
The lawmakers later defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, with members loyal to Fubara declaring their seats vacant. President Bola Tinubu later intervened in the matter, leading to the withdrawal of the impeachment notice against the governor, among other resolutions. While speaking at the crossover service in Opobo Nkoro local government area, the governor had this to say. Let's take a listen.
I want to urge every one of us here, don't be frightened. What they want is this red biro. It's still with me. They have failed. You are the winner. We are the winner. Because we are still signing the red biro. And so long as we are signing the red biro, development will continue in River State.
Well, quite an interesting clip of the governor of River State, Siminalayi Fubara, addressing the audience in the church at the crossover service. Let's now bring in public affairs analyst Adeniyi Kunnu for more analysis of the development in River State. Good morning from us here in Nigeria. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.
I have to say good morning. That's a very interesting clip we just watched on TV here. And everybody must agree that that has actually come to establish what many of us have been speaking about since the problem between Hanson Wike and the man is sired into office. Whatever it is that Fubara had said before the statement he made at the church, I think we can just take all of those things with a pinch of salt. The reality of all that had been happening is that people wanted to control the coffers of the state. So what do you do with a pen? The pen is a symbol of legitimization and authority of anything that a governor does. And it's obvious from what he said at the church that the tractors actually wanted him to remain a stooge to, obviously, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory or be sent packing from office. And he has obviously told them that after all said and done, we're still the winner. So even after the reconciliation, also it can be said, we can clearly say that perhaps the man who still calls the shot is Mr. Fubara. So obviously the statement nails the coffin of the enemies. I believe so.
Well, can we really say that there has been an outright settlement by all parties involved? Because what we've seen is, I mean, if there was actual peace, would he have needed to come and address the audience and say that they are the winner and they still have the red pen? Do you think that it is now finally Uhuru, like they say in River State?
No, it's never Uhuru for anybody in politics. There's a particular statement we normally make that the only thing that is permanent in human relationships is actually change. And change remains eternally permanent because in politics, you do not even have permanent friends or enemies. You only have interest, and the interest actually continues to change. Nothing has been settled because we looked at the reports that emanated, different reports after they left Abuja for Rivers and told us that President Tinubu has settled the matter. One of the things that happened was that Elder Douglas, one of the Rivers Elders Forum members, said that the president just came out and said what he has on the paper in his hands will be the resolution. And he gave the resolution, and it was the former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, who read it. So if you, as the president, wanted to sue for peace, as somebody who is considered an elder statesman in the scheme of things in the country, then one would have expected that you let us understand you call Fubara to the table and Wike not have a proclamation made, because part of what we read in public domain was, as he said, as the president, he has the power to even whip everybody. So that's one part. Only last week we also saw that Rivers Elders Forum made a statement regarding what they considered lack of peace, or the fact that troubles are still brewing underneath as far as Rivers State is concerned. So if you look at this, the only thing that can happen right now is to see how everybody who has one interest or the other, especially the current minister of the FCT, Barrister Nyesom Wike, that they have to behave themselves. Let's say this again. For the past 5-10 years, Rivers State has consistently come second in terms of the kind of success it makes of its economy. And across the country, Rivers State is also the state that has the second highest budget earmarked for 2024 to the tune of 800 billion. Lagos has, I think, in excess of 2 trillion. Why have I said that? There are lots of potentialities in Rivers. Consider the oil, consider the fact that it is one of the states that give us the foreign exchange we need to sustain the country. The state needs peace so that whatever development that should come will benefit the people. So right now, what we have is surface treatment of fracas. The real problem is still brewing. The real problem is still brewing underneath. And I believe that right now, Governor Fubara, who had learned his lesson, must understand that there comes a time when a boy becomes a man, and when a boy becomes a man, he begins to assert himself. Because after all said and done, nobody's going to ask Nyesom Wike to account for the tenure of Governor Fubara. Essentially, Governor Fubara has to answer questions that are actually associated with his administration. So he has to sit up and start working for the people.
All right, let's also take a look at this. The former speaker, Edison here, threw in his resignation letter right there on the screen as well, and he called it quits. Of course, there are also rumors that he will be made chief of staff, which cannot be fully confirmed as we speak now. Chief of staff to the current sitting governor. We're starting to see a lot of, changes here and there. And then you also had, out of the 27 members of parliament who had also chosen to go to the other party, seeking and asking for Fubara to indeed ensure that they drop any other charges against them. What do you make of the law that should take its course, affecting the decisions that Fubara would make, and most importantly, the solid movements of the players, the main players who are supposed to help the state grow? How does that indeed affect this entire situation?
I know you've probably heard the words, even among thieves, there is honor. That is a symbolic expression that we can actually make do of in this particular situation. You need to ask yourself how suddenly people who belonged in the PDP just changed position and automatically became APC members. Because one of the things I understand is you cannot become a member by fiat. There are certain processes you must actually do. So one has to even review first the resignation or the jump shipping, as it were, or the ship jumping, as it were, of the 27 lawmakers. The question you asked did not begin with this lawmaker. Do not also forget that a number of commissioners at the height of this fracas, a number of these commissioners also resigned their appointment. And what one of them said was that because he felt particularly that his conscience wouldn't allow him. That simply means you belong in a political party, but you are acting as if you belong elsewhere. Your allegiance that is supposed to be to your current appointer is to the former appointer. And if you also look at it, you have to ask yourself why Fubara just looked away. Maybe he felt that was the best thing to do to come to power, that he allowed his administration to have 5 or 6 commissioners directly from the Wike administration, especially the Commissioner for Justice in Rivers State. So if you look at this person now that is leaving office, this person has not been said to have done something that is constitutionally wrong. Don't forget, essentially, a lawmaker represents the people, So one of the things that we're going to really explore right now is what are the processes, for instance, of relinquishing your position. One of the things that we know is that in law, if people appoint you or people elect you, we know that the mandate ultimately still belongs to the political party. But at the end of an election where you have been appointed, I think the court only has the mandate to remove you. And if at all you are resigning, there has to be proper communication of your resignation, not only to the sitting governor, but of course to the people who essentially elected you to office. So this abnormality that many people are not aware of, are beginning to get very comfortable with, is actually a disservice. So the offices and the powers associated with the offices of these legislators. So River State has actually become embossed with the identity of another banana republic, and it has become incrementally annoying that people who should understand the basics of representation are actually the ones flouting it. So for the person who will likely become the chief of staff and eventually may become the chief of staff, that is first a disservice to the people who elected that person. Then secondly, who will fill in the gap? Don't forget, they had primaries, following which this particular lawmaker that has resigned appointment emerged. What about the psychology of those that actually work so hard to have him in office? Because let's take it here. Politics the world over is about interest. There are certain political jobbers that have been with him. That is also going to cause some kind of fracas beneath the level of the superpowers that have been fighting in the state. So I think that people from all of these things that are happening are learning a lot from the kind of people that they allow represent them. And I think this man, people could think that 4 years or 8 years is far away. Not at all. President Muhammadu Buhari told us the first time, told us the second time, he's back in Dara, maybe going to his cattle ranch. It is not always long. If people could reason through these incidences of negativity and quite frankly sordid attitude of displeasure that they perpetrate, we can actually have them behave themselves. But many of them do not actually understand the implications. The political destiny of this man, as far as representation in the assembly of the state or the federal government, might have actually met his death knell. And I think that people should take note of everybody who has not allowed River State to actually toe the line of proper leadership and development for the ultimate benefit of the people of Rivers.
All right, let's quickly speak about party and party politics in reference to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who,
Yes,
is still a part of the PDP from right now it's a bit confusing, right? Which party he's in.
Still PDP. But of course, pledges allegiance to APC.
But yes, of course, he's still a member of the PDP. But we see that whilst he's serving under the APC administration, he's been accused by a number of people of anti-party activities. The People's Democratic Party National Working Committee at some point had said that they will sanction him. He's threatened and dared them, and nothing has been done. Why is it that he seems all powerful? First of all, do you agree that he's more powerful than the party at this point? And why is it that they're not able to implement sanctions against him? And these are some of the questions that people are asking.
Well, in the first place, I think we have to be fair on Wike first, retrospectively, that at the point the party was in absolute shambles and crisis after they lost the election to the former president. The leading figure of the party returned to Dubai in the person of the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar. And I have to give credit to Wike back then that he single-handedly practically funded the party, ensured that another Rivers person, Uche Secondus, I believe, assumed office as the PDP chair. And for the greater period where the PDP was supposed to be a party in disarray, Wike held it together. Then another disservice they did to him was that they had said that since the former party flag went to a northerner, why can't we have the party flag come to the south? And I guess that based on what Wike felt was unjust, it went there. But something also happened at the National Convention of the PDP, because this is not a question you have to just look at now. You have to create a retrospection and connect it to now. They had a National Convention. On the night of the convention, while people were ready to vote, Tambuwal relinquished his position as somebody who was participating in that particular election to know who will eventually become the candidate of the party, having been an aspirant. And eventually he said everybody that came as a delegate for him should vote for Atiku Abubakar. That, to me, is actually campaigning on the day of election, and that's actually not acceptable. Having said that, Wike had mentioned with his mouth that he essentially belonged to the PDP And perhaps until he gets, ordinated, as it were, into the APC, which we have not seen, he remains in the PDP. But let's not also forget that you cannot hold this kind of office if it were elective. This is an appointment. And it is not an appointment that is just at the level of the state. It's a national appointment. And in the words of Wike, in one of the previous televised interviews he had last year, he said when the message got to him that he was going to be appointed as the minister of the FCT, he sent letters to the respective authorities beginning from his constituency that he was going to be appointed. And in his state of Rivers, the party chairman, they approved it. At his word, they approved it. That it was only at the national level that he had a problem with it. And he felt this is an opportunity for him to serve his country, and he took the appointment. And I have to also say this, that it seems as if Wike has something on everybody, including, I need to hush it and say it, the current president of the country. Because at the height of these problems in Rivers, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in very senior climes, would have given him the sack and appointed another person. But it felt as if that was inconsequential, and he let it go. So for a Wike right now, I can tell you for free that the PDP may just be wasting their own time wanting to sanction a man that appears to have a chip on every one of them. And if you look at it, the quest here, particularly for Wike, is actually to fight for it. And if you look at Dr. Iyorchia Achu, that was the former national chairman of the PDP, a video revealed that he actually practically collaborated for Wike not to be voted for. And that's actually in certain public domain, which of course is also not just. So Wike, on the one hand, might not know the processes or the approach to fight his battle, but he's been doing it ruthlessly and it has been working for him. But we have to look at his opponent, as it were, because it's a context. And the context have then also been fair to him. So essentially, Wike still remains in the PDP, and since it is a federal appointment, I believe he has taken it. It is just that we expect him to behave himself while in office, because that's a national appointment.
All right. Very quickly, as we look forward to wrap up this conversation, Mr. Kunnu, what do you envisage this entire wrangling, battle, back and forth fracas will lead to at the end of the day in Rivers State?
I envisage that if the undercurrents of these problems continue, Fubara may never get a second term, and it could mean the end to his political career. And it is also likely that they may want to ask him questions about when he was the Commissioner for Finance in Rivers State under the Wike governorship term. So I think that is one thing. So I have said it before when we opened this conversation, that right now everybody must behave themselves. The problem is still beneath. There are still tremors. There are still aftershocks. But I hope that we don't have too much gaps on the earth of their political and politicking, so that they will not be drowned or actually swallowed by the earth that they created or the crevices they created themselves. So a lot is still under, but they have to stop it now. But of course, the people of Rivers must also behave themselves right now, because they have to start asking the question to Fubara, are you the governor or Wike is the governor? And civil society organizations in Nigeria that are working in Rivers State should also ensure that they sensitize the people to stand by their governor, so that leadership and the terms of reference of Governor Siminalayi Fubara should actually be given. We don't want any of this. Nigerians are suffering. Poverty seems to have an identity on the streets of Nigeria right now, and it is only proper political and accountable political representation that can assuage it, at least for now. So that is the way to go, and I want to say thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. Very incisive, I must say, and we truly, truly appreciate your time. Joining us all the way from Washington, D.C., Mr. Kunnu, thank you for being here.